At 25, Ji-eon works 3 jobs a day. In the morning, she worked at a fast food chain. During lunchtime, she rushed to a restaurant. And when night fell, she took the midnight shift at a convenience store. She doesn't dream of love or success. She just wants one thing, a place she can finally call home. And then, an ad plays on her phone. Who do you spend your time with? Friends, a lover, or your family? But Doyun Nam spends his time with Dear Apartment. Dear Apartment, always there for you, forever, a place you call home. Looking at the screen, Ji-eon frowned. Just who the hell is this ad even for, she muttered. It was almost funny, running such an ad on a platform where you barely make 10 cents for watching ads. She stood behind the counter, completely drained, when the bell rang and an old man walked in. She had collapsed a few times from working like this, but she'd learned a couple of things. First, the hardest part wasn't the job itself. Second, there was no such thing as an uneventful day, though today could almost be called uneventful. The old man grabbed a bottle of soju. Ji-eon rang it up and told him the amount. Then suddenly, he placed a doll and a pair of toy handcuffs on the counter. Before she could react, he opened the bottle and gulped it down. Ji-eon's expression darkened. Of course, she thought. How could my day go this smoothly? She'd known it from the start. This old geezer had been strange the moment he walked in. Sir, she said, forcing herself to stay professional, you need to pay with money, and you can't drink that before paying. The man only pointed at the doll and the toy handcuffs. Each is worth 1,000 won, he said casually. I won them from a claw machine earlier. You can keep the extra 200 won as a tip. Ji-eon's anger boiled over. Sir, if you don't pay with money, I'll report you. Just then, the bell rang again. A group of students rushed in, their school day clearly over. The store filled with noise and chaos. When Ji-eon turned back to the counter, the old man was gone. She looked around frantically, but he had already disappeared. How can any day be normal? She screamed inside. I've had enough. The moment I save enough money, I'm quitting this stupid job. Her shift ended soon after, and she left the store. Back home, she stared at the doll. It was a Mingji doll, recently popular, but this piece of junk had cost her 1,800 won. She didn't have much time before heading to her next job, but still, she decided to watch her favorite drama before sleeping. On screen, the male lead was giving up everything. His business, his lavish apartment, even his rich parents. He was ready to cut off his ponytail, his best feature, just to marry the woman he loved, standing there convincing her mother. Ji-eon blinked sleepily. How lucky, she thought. I want an apartment like that too. But before she could think any further, sleep claimed her. The next morning, Ji-eon took the bus. On weekdays, she worked 3 jobs, but on weekends she took temporary gigs, jobs that actually paid decently. And today's job was at a broadcast studio, working as an extra. As soon as she arrived, a man handed her a slip. She was told to fill it out, listing what she worked on today so she could get paid. Then the man added casually, "You'll need to pay a registration fee, 30,000 won." Ji-eon froze. What? She blurted out, completely caught off guard. She argued, but the man remained firm, reminding her that people often leave in the middle of work, and the fee was meant to prevent that. The pay was good, and Ji-eon didn't really have a choice. So in the end, she paid the fee. The extras were given a 20-minute break before they were told to gather again. Ji-eon wandered around the studio. It was huge, but despite that, not a single celebrity was in sight. She sighed. It would have been nice to see someone, especially a celebrity from My Ponytail Lover, the drama she'd watched the night before, the one that had recently become incredibly popular. Lost in thought, she drifted toward the green room. Before she could see anyone move, a cold voice stopped her. Startled, Ji-eon turned around. A man stood behind her, looking at her with an icy expression. Dear Apartment, she thought suddenly. No, wait, that wasn't it. Doyun Nam? She called out hesitantly. He frowned. Why are you so late on your first day? He said flatly. Then, brushing past her, he entered the room. Forget it, just come inside. Ji-eon hesitated, then followed him in. Excuse me? She asked carefully. What am I supposed to do today? The man, busy playing on his phone, replied without looking up. Bring my clothes from my van. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, and I'll have a 9-spanner. Ji-eon's eyes widened. What is that? She asked. He finally looked at her, sighing in clear annoyance. Later, the cafe door opened. Ji-eon staggered inside, panting, her arms piled high with layers of clothes. She tried desperately to remember what the man had ordered. The name was completely gone from her mind. In the end, she blurted out, I'll have an Einstein. The entire cafe fell silent. Everyone stared at her. After a moment, the cashier smiled politely. Oh, you mean Einspanner. Would you like it hot or cold? Ji-eon raised her head, panicking slightly. He didn't say anything about that, so she bought both. Back in the room, she placed everything on the table. Here's your Einstein, she said, then added, and your clothes. The man stared at her, confused. Why did you get both? Ji-eon laughed. Just in case, she said, but inside she screamed, just in case you get mad, you freak. Picking up a coffee, the man gestured for her to sit. She sat beside him but couldn't help it. Her eyes kept drifting back to him. Aside from being rude, he really was good-looking. "Why are you staring at me?" he asked. Ji-eon flushed, realizing she'd been caught. "Oh, it's just really new to me," she said quickly. "I've never seen a celebrity in person before, and I didn't even know an extra had to do all this work." The man turned to her. "Extra?" he repeated. "Aren't you a manager for 2 years?" That was the moment Ji-eon realized she was in deep trouble. She was supposed to return in 20 minutes. But by the time she got back, it was already too late. She tried to explain, but no one listened. "Girls your age are always like this," the man who had promised her work said dismissively. "You abandon your responsibilities just to see a celebrity. Now get out of here." And just like that, Ji-eon returned home. But what should have been a place of rest was covered in dirt, clothes, and scattered belongings. She tiptoed inside and finally collapsed onto her bed. "What's wrong with girls my age?" she wondered aloud. "We're only trying our best to live," she mumbled. She should have just stayed home. She should have watched My Ponytail Lover instead. The money she spent on transportation, the registration fee, and that expensive coffee was barely less than what she would have earned. And that damn Doyun Nam hadn't even offered her a single coffee, the one she bought with her own money. As she cursed, her eyes landed on the doll she'd received yesterday. She picked it up, anger boiling as she remembered how much money she'd wasted on this stupid thing. And somehow, the doll's face reminded her of that stupid man. "Doyun Nam," she muttered. "This is all your fault. How dare you make me work for free?" She squeezed the doll hard. "Now get on your knees and beg for forgiveness." A dangerous laugh escaped her lips. "In fact, lick my toes, you ungrateful jerk, and keep apologizing until I forgive you. Why don't you see what it's like to apologize, huh?" Just as she finished venting her frustration, the doorbell rang. Who is it, she wondered, thinking it was her landlord coming to complain about the noise. She prepared to apologize. But the moment she opened the door, her eyes widened. There on his knees was Doyun Nam. He himself looked completely dumbfounded. What was he even doing here? Before his mind could catch up, his body moved on its own. He clapped his hands together and bowed. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me," he said, utterly embarrassed. And 25-year-old Ji-eon, whose only dream was to move into a better apartment, didn't yet realize that from today onward she had a man who would follow her every order. All because of that damn doll. So what happened earlier? Doyun Nam received a call from his manager. The voice on the other end sounded tense. The temporary manager who was supposed to come today never showed up. Doyun froze. That was when it hit him. The girl who had run off earlier, she was a complete stranger. He let out a slow sigh. How could I make such a ridiculous mistake? Just then, the door opened. A director who was going to work with Doyun stepped inside. Doyun immediately stood up to greet him. "Hey Doyun. Long time no see," the director said cheerfully. "It's been a while. I still can't believe you're doing a cameo in our drama. I'm really looking forward to the ratings going up." "Yes, I hope so," Doyun replied with a small smile. "But you can't stay like this forever," the director continued, as he led Doyun outside. "You haven't changed a bit since you were young. It's such a shame to see you appearing only in ads these days." As they left the room, Doyun suddenly turned in the opposite direction. The director stopped and looked back, puzzled. "Doyun? Where are you going? That's the wrong way," he kept calling out to him. But Doyun Nam didn't stop. He kept walking forward, as if he were possessed. And that was how he ended up here, standing at Ji-eon's door, asking for forgiveness. "What are you doing? Please get up." "Stop this," Ji-eon said, completely flustered. Doyun looked up at her. Inside, he screamed that he would love to, but he just can't. His body refused to listen. Ji-eon panicked. What if the whole building wakes up and sees this? "I'm calling the cops if you don't stop," she warned, turning to go inside for her phone. Suddenly, something grabbed her foot. She froze. Turning back, Ji-eon stared at him in confusion. "What are you doing? Let go," she shouted. In the struggle, she lost her balance and fell to the floor. Before she could react further, her eyes widened at the scene unfolding in front of her. Doyun Nam was holding on to her foot, pulling it closer to his mouth without understanding why his body was moving on its own. His face showed confusion, as if he were fighting against himself. "Hey, what are you doing? Stop it!" Ji-eon cried out in fear. "Doyun Nam, please stop!" The moment the words left her mouth, Doyun suddenly released her and pushed her leg away, as if the strange force controlling him had finally broken. "Why were you on your knees, apologizing, and even trying to lick my toes?" Ji-eon asked, utterly confused. Doyun, on the other hand, just sat there, completely embarrassed. "I did that?" he muttered. "I don't even know why I did something so shameful," he said, covering his face. "Anyway, please leave now," Ji-eon added. "No, we need to talk about this first," Doyun insisted. But Ji-eon was worried about something else entirely. "Oh, my place is a mess, and you can't just enter a woman's apartment," she said quickly. "There's a public place nearby. We can talk there. There will be Lots of people, so it won't be awkward. But the moment she mentioned a lot of people, Doyun's heart began racing uncontrollably. He suddenly froze, breathing unevenly, as if on the verge of a panic attack. Ji-eon caught him in time. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'll be fine. Just give me a few minutes," he replied, huffing. Ji-eon could hear his heartbeat pounding. In the end, she gave up. "Just come inside for now," she said. She handed him some water. "Are you feeling better?" she asked. They sat down amid the layers of trash scattered around the room. "I'm fine. Thank you," Doyun replied after a moment. Ji-eon just stared at him. She had let him in on impulse, but now that she thought about it, did he have some kind of illness? And more importantly, what were they even supposed to talk about now? Meanwhile, Doyun glanced around the room. "Ew, this place is a dump," he thought. Turning back to her, he spoke coldly. "Please don't tell anyone about what happened today. If you say anything, I'll take legal action." Ji-eon's mind exploded. "What was this guy even talking about? Do you even remember what happened today?" she shot back. "You bossed me around and made me run all kinds of errands for you." Doyun looked at her calmly. "I apologized earlier, didn't I? So I think both parties should forget about such painful memories." To him, the conversation was over. Ji-eon, however, felt like her brain had short-circuited. "Fine," she said sharply. "If that's how it's going to be, then I'm getting this off my chest, and getting what I deserve." She raised her phone and shoved the screen toward him. "These are the expenses I paid today. Give it to me. Are you trying to get money out of me now?" he asked, brushing her hand aside. "I'm just asking for the amount I spent on you," she shouted. Doyun reached into his pocket, irritated. Why is she making such a fuss over such a lame amount? Was this all about money from the start? He asked. "What are you talking about?" Ji-eon demanded. "Now that I think about it," he muttered, "why else would I have come to your house and done those weird things?" Ji-eon stared at him in shock. "How would I even do that? How should I know?" he snapped. "Maybe you put something in my coffee." Is he completely delusional? Ji-eon thought. She took a deep breath and tried to reason with him. "Calm down. Why are you being so harsh when you're the reason I didn't get paid today?" He smirked. "See, it always comes back to money. I get it, you want money. I'll tell my agency about the mix-up. They'll reimburse you," he continued. "But if something like this happens again, I won't let it slide. Goodbye." With that, he turned to leave. In the entertainment industry, people always got close to Doyun because of money. That was how people saw him. That was why he had cut off contact with so many people. And that was the same reason he believed this woman had dragged him here. Tch. "I'm sick of it," he thought as he walked out of the apartment. Later that night, Ji-eon lay lazily on her bed, absent-mindedly playing with the doll. She cursed Doyun Nam under her breath. How hard was it to say sorry? It wasn't like she had asked for much, and honestly she had no intention of bringing it up at all, if only he hadn't been so rude. Based on his personality, it didn't even seem like he had come to apologize. Who even licks a stranger's toe, she thought irritably. That was when Ji-eon suddenly froze. Her eyes widened. She remembered it clearly. She was the one who had said those words to the doll. Did I make that happen? The thought sent a chill through her. Meanwhile, at Ohu Entertainment, chaos was unfolding. The CEO was scolding Doyun furiously. "You didn't answer my calls and you just left like that?" "I'm sorry," Doyun replied calmly. "Something came up." But the CEO only grew angrier. "Do you have any idea how hard younger actors work these days?" he snapped. "You haven't worked in 6 years, and this was just a small cameo without any pay. Do you really think you're still the same hotshot you used to be?" Doyun's manager stepped in, trying to calm the situation. But it was already too late. Back at Ji-eon's house, she laughed softly at the thought. "Me controlling Doyun Nam? How ridiculous," she muttered. "It's like saying this Mingji doll has powers." She stared at the doll in her hands. "If that were true," she added quietly, "I really should have punched him earlier." She lifted the doll's arm and lightly jabbed forward. "Jab, Doyun Nam," she whispered at that exact moment. Back in the studio, Doyun suddenly jabbed the CEO. The already furious man exploded with rage. His anger boiled over as he grabbed Doyun by the collar. "Who do you think you are?" the CEO shouted. "You think you deserve special treatment just because you have panic attacks?" Doyun's expression hardened. This was the same man who had once said they were family, back when Doyun was rising. Back in Ji-eon's room, still playing with the doll, she whispered again, "Doyun, now let's jab to the left." And just like that, Doyun struck again. The CEO stumbled backward, clutching his face as blood began to drip from his nose. Later, "How is he?" Doyun asked his manager quietly. "He's fine," the manager replied. "But what about you?" Doyun averted his gaze. "I don't know," he murmured. "But I swear, my body just moved on its own." The manager Kim gave a small, understanding smile. "I get it. But you still shouldn't have left like that," he said gently. Doyun sighed. "Maybe it was a good thing," he said after a pause. "What if I'd had a panic attack on set?" The manager's expression turned worried. Hey Doyun, don't say that. You've gotten a lot better. But deep down, Doyun knew that wasn't true. Just thinking about crowded places still filled him with anxiety. At Ji-eon's place, he had panicked, and at this rate, he wasn't even sure he would be able to start working again. After Doyun left, the manager Kim sat down with the CEO. He tried to persuade him. He asked him to understand, reminding him how much everyone had seen Doyun struggle. But CEO Hushul was still furious. That's easy for you to say, he snapped. You're not the one who got punched in the face. Then he added coldly, mark my words. If Doyun doesn't clean up his act, I'll have no choice but to let him go. Manager Kim let out a dry laugh. It was bold talk, from an agency that had been nothing without Doyun. But this time, CEO Hushul was serious. His contract renewal is coming up, he continued. People think he doesn't have to work because he's made enough money. But, tell me, who's going to pay for an expensive contract for an actor who's beyond recovery? Manager Kim sighed, worry weighing heavily on him. Inside, he could only pray that Doyun would hold himself together, because if he didn't, they were all going to be in serious trouble. The next day at work, Ji-eon stared at the card Doyun had given her for reimbursement. After being insulted like that, she didn't even want to accept his money. Lost in thought, her phone buzzed. A message popped up. Thank you, Ji-eon, I am grateful to you. She sighed. She could have just said that on the phone. Still, no matter how hard she worked, it always felt worthwhile when she thought about her mother. They were living apart for now, but someday, Ji-eon wanted them to live together. And for that, she was willing to work even harder. Smiling softly, she sent money to her mother. That night, Ji-eon finally returned home. Exhausted, she slumped onto her bed. Her eyes drifted toward the doll sitting quietly on the headboard. Frustration surged. She grabbed the doll and shouted, "Give me money! Give me a house, or at least money for a down payment!" She flopped back onto the bed, still talking to the doll. "I'm not asking for dear apartment," she muttered. "I just want a simple place for two. That would be enough." Curling onto her side, she hugged the doll tightly. When everything in the world felt so difficult, all she wanted was to be with her mother. Her mother's face filled her mind, and she whispered softly, "I miss you." Murmuring like that, Ji-eon slowly fell asleep. After a while, a bell rang, tearing her from her sleep. Yawning, she sat up. Who could be here at this hour, she wondered. As she stood and walked toward the door, the feeling was almost like déjà vu. "Who is it?" she mumbled as she opened, and her mouth fell open in shock. Standing there was Doyun Nam. He was wearing a sleep robe and shorts, holding a pillow in one hand. Ji-eon screamed, "What are you doing here? And dressed like that? What is your problem?" But Doyun looked even more shocked than she was. Before she could say anything else, his body swayed, and he collapsed onto the floor. Ji-eon's face went pale. She called out to him in panic, but Doyun was already unconscious. Later, as Doyun regained consciousness, he blinked slowly. The first thing he saw was Ji-eon. Her face was pale, and she was half panicking as she leaned closer. "Are you okay?" she asked anxiously. The moment Doyun fully woke up, he screamed. "Why are you screaming all of a sudden?" Ji-eon asked, startled. Doyun abruptly sat up, grabbing the sheet and pulling it over his bare chest in panic. "What are you doing here?" he shouted. "And what were you planning to do to me?" "Excuse me?" Ji-eon snapped. "You were the one who showed up at my place and fainted. I'm the one who brought you inside because I was worried you'd get sick in the cold, and you still have the audacity to blame me?" Doyun froze. Listening to her, memories slowly surfaced. He was sure he had been in bed when he fell asleep. So how did he end up here? Am I really losing my mind? He wondered, panic creeping in. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, clutching his robe tightly around his neck. Ji-eon stared at him. "Are you apologizing to me?" Doyun nodded. "But maybe you're still not doing this on your own will," Ji-eon muttered cautiously. Doyun shook his head. "It's true that I came here without intending to," he admitted. "But still, showing up at a woman's place this late, dressed like this, it must have been frightening for you. So I'm sorry." This time Ji-eon could tell he was being sincere. Doyun stood up. "I'll leave now," he said. Ji-eon glanced at him from head to toe. "Are you sure you're going to leave like that?" she asked. That was when Doyun finally noticed. His sleep robe was completely torn. While Doyun went to change, Ji-eon picked up the doll. Now she was certain there was no explanation for Doyun's actions other than this Mingji doll. She stared at it and muttered, "When I said I missed someone, I wasn't talking about him." Then she frowned. "And if this is really your doing, then where's my money? And my house?" She glared at the doll, but soon she realized something. No matter what she said, it only seemed to affect Doyun Nam. "Hey," Doyun called from inside. "Yes? Are you done?" Ji-eon replied. The door opened. Doyun stepped out. "Are you kidding me?" he said flatly. "I can let the pants go, but what is this?" He was wearing her girly, funky top. "Oh, that," Ji-eon said awkwardly. "That's the only clean top I have. I never wore it, so I kept it." Doyun's face slowly stiffened as his eyes drifted past her, toward the mountain of mess piled around the room. What kind of woman even lives like this? He wondered. But a few moments later, Ji-eon finally managed to dress him in one of her oversized sweaters. Surprisingly, it fit him perfectly. I can't help it. It smells a little weird, Doyun muttered, scrunching his face. Ji-eon immediately grabbed the sweater, pulling it closer to her face and sniffing it seriously. Hey, what are you doing? Doyun yelled, his face turning bright red. Ji-eon ignored him, still inspecting it. I remember spilling strawberry milk on it a long time ago, but I haven't touched it since then, she murmured. Wait, did I buy this from a vintage shop? Doyun's face went even paler. Hey, it's fine. You can just let it go, he said quietly. Realizing his discomfort, Ji-eon quickly handed him her phone. You can contact someone or book cab with this, she said. Doyun's face fell slightly. There really wasn't anyone he felt close enough to call at this hour. In the end, he booked a cab. They sat quietly in the room, waiting. I can't believe I'm still awake, Ji-eon thought. I'm totally screwed tomorrow. Do you mind if I watch my show? She asked, pulling out her phone. Oh, that's fine, Doyun replied. What are you watching? Ponytail Lovers, she said casually. The one written by Jung-suk Kim? He asked. Ji-eon's face instantly lit up. Oh, you know her? A lot of men don't even know screenwriters, she said happily. You do know I'm in the industry, right? Doyun replied, giving her an incredulous look. Of course, Ji-eon smiled. I love all the dramas she's written. Yes, Doyun said calmly. She's very good at romantic dramas. I starred in one of hers. Oh, really? Ji-eon said. Let me search it. She had no real interest, but she didn't want to seem rude, so she started typing. Then, her eyes suddenly widened as she stared at the screen. I think the taxi should be arriving soon, Doyun said casually. Can you hand me the phone so I can check? No, Ji-eon replied far too quickly. I'll let you know. Just stay where you are. Doyun frowned. Why did her attitude change all of a sudden? He wondered. Earlier, she'd been completely calm. A strange thought crossed his mind. He stood up abruptly. Hey, let me see the phone. His voice sharpened. Were you filming me while I was sleeping? Ji-eon's face fell. Why would I even do that? She thought desperately. Don't deny it, Doyun continued. I saw the way you were looking at me. I can tell. You want this body. Ji-eon froze. What is this man even talking about? But without realizing it, she was staring at him from head to toe. See? He said sharply. You're staring. Please stop. He snatched the phone from her hand. If I find even one photo of me in here, I'm not letting it go. Hey, wait! Ji-eon shouted from behind. She rushed to get off the bed, but her foot slipped. Doyun! Doyun turned around just in time to see her flying toward him. From his perspective, it looked like a woman throwing herself at him. Instinctively, Ji-eon grabbed onto him for support, and the two of them crashed to the floor together. Elsewhere, CEO Huchil clicked his tongue. Just what the hell is he doing? He muttered under his breath. On his screen was an article showing Doyun Nam, dressed in a sleep robe and shorts, wandering the streets while holding a pillow. The next day, as Doyun rode with his manager, he sat unusually quiet. Noticing this, Doyun finally asked, How come you're not asking me anything? Manager Kim laughed lightly. You wouldn't tell me even, if I asked. Sorry, Doyun muttered. You won't do it again, right? Manager Kim asked carefully. Doyun fell silent. He didn't want to, but it wasn't as if he could control it either. What happened last night kept replaying in his mind, especially that woman. If it had really been him, he would never have done something so pointless. Did you do that on purpose? Doyun's voice echoed in his head. When Ji-eon had fallen over him, her face had turned bright red. No, I swear I didn't. I just slipped and fell, she had said frantically. Not that, Doyun had replied, meeting her eyes. Were you trying to hide your phone so I wouldn't see that article? Slowly, Ji-eon had sat up straight. Yes, she answered. Inside, she was flustered. It wasn't because she was worried about him. She just didn't want him to make a fuss and complicate things further. But then, Thank you, Doyun had said. Are you apologizing to me again? She asked, blinking. He nodded. But you don't have to worry, he continued calmly. That kind of article doesn't bother me. It'll be gone by tomorrow anyway. And just like that, as the cab arrived, he had left her with those unexpectedly gentle words. Now, back at work, Ji-eon felt terrible. She couldn't focus on anything. Her thoughts kept circling back, to him, and worse, to that damn Mingji doll. As regret slowly settled in, both Ji-eon and Doyun found themselves thinking about the same thing, about each other, and about why they had both done things that felt so completely out of character. Ji-eon spent the entire day thinking about Doyun Nam. She messed up so many tasks at work that she almost couldn't believe herself. But why was she even worried about him now? He didn't seem to care at all. And more than that, he probably didn't even know her name. After all, he was a famous actor. Why would he need to remember someone like her? As she searched for him online, she found out just how incredible he was. He had started his career as a child actor, earned countless titles, and built an impressive reputation. And here she was, Someone who had boldly acted like that in front of him, even making him wear that ridiculous top. Thinking about it now, she felt strangely embarrassed. But that wasn't really me, she thought. It was all because of that doll. From now on, she needed to be careful. She couldn't say anything careless in front of it. With that thought, she reached into her bag and grabbed the Mingji doll. Hey! Ji-eon froze. Her heart skipped. Wait, did the Mingji doll just talk? She wondered, her mind spiraling. Before she could think any further, she suddenly noticed a man standing at the counter. Startled, she quickly put on a polite smile. Oh, I'm sorry, she said. Are you ready to check out? The man suddenly grabbed her by the collar. You damn girl, he snapped. I've been standing here this whole time, and you've been ignoring me. Ji-eon's face went pale. This wasn't normal behavior. Fear crept in as she turned her gaze instinctively toward the Mingji doll. Should I call out to Doyun Nam? She wondered in panic. Elsewhere, Doyun arrived for a meeting with an advertiser. Manager Kim spoke calmly beside him. Doyun, listen, you have to be polite, okay? When have I not been polite? Doyun replied, frowning. Why are you acting so strange? Suddenly, he flinched as if sensing something. Back at the convenience store, the man raised his hand, about to strike. Ji-eon was so frightened that she squeezed her eyes shut, bracing herself. But the blow she expected never came. Slowly, she opened her eyes. What she saw made her breath catch. The man was being held by the collar, lifted slightly off the ground by another man wearing a black cap who had just arrived. His grip was firm, his voice cold. If you're not going to pay, he said evenly, then move. With that, he dropped the man to the floor with a loud thud. Cursing under his breath, the man scrambled up and ran out of the store. Ji-eon finally caught her breath. The strange man was gone. Slowly, she turned toward the next customer in line. Thank you, and I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, she said politely. I can help you with checkout now. The man rubbed the back of his neck hesitantly. Okay, he replied, placing a packet of green grape candy on the counter. After paying, he turned to leave. Ji-eon bowed deeply. Thank you, she said sincerely. Just as he reached the door, the man suddenly stopped. He reached into his bag and pulled out a handful of candy, placing it on the counter. Ji-eon stared at him in confusion. Thinking she wanted more, he reached into his bag again and pulled out another one. Then, with a small smile, he said, just so you feel better. With that, he left the store. Even after everything was over, Ji-eon couldn't stop trembling. Soon, her shift ended. Before leaving, she warned the new staff to be careful and told them about the man who had attacked her. Walking down the street afterward, Ji-eon suddenly missed her mother terribly. She sent a message. Mom, I really don't want to go to work. She wasn't someone who usually said things like that. She didn't want advice. She just wanted her mother's concern. But her mother's reply broke her heart. Still, you have to make money. Ji-eon burst into tears. Her mother hadn't even asked why she didn't want to go. All Ji-eon had wanted was a few comforting words, but, broken, she pulled out a piece of candy and popped it into her mouth. Elsewhere, the young man opened the candy packet he had bought. He frowned. 6 were missing. Guess I need to go back, he muttered, remembering the woman. At the convenience store. Earlier, Doyun flinched the moment he saw Hyunsu 1. Hyunsu was a 36-year-old actor, once Doyun's partner in a drama. They met again at the same place Doyun had come for an advertisement discussion. Oh, long time no see, Doyun, Hyunsu said, striding toward him. Yeah, what are you doing here? Doyun asked. Oh, I'm just friends with the president, Hyunsu replied with a smile. So I dropped by to visit. Both Doyun and manager Kim's eyes went up. Wasn't he a little too young to be friends with the president? Oh, Doyun, Hyunsu continued, casually patting his shoulder. I saw the news. I was shocked at first, but I'm sure it's all part of some preparation, right? I'll be looking forward to it, he added with a smile. Doyun went silent. Before he could say anything, manager Kim sensed the tension and quickly grabbed Doyun's arm. We have to go, he said politely. It was nice meeting you, Hyunsu. Hyunsu waved casually. I'll call you later, Doyun. Doyun stopped. Hyunsu, he said calmly. I changed my number 3 years ago. Before things could grow any more awkward, manager Kim pulled Doyun away and left. The next day at work, Ji-eon was peeling onions. She reminded herself that her mother wasn't wrong. She had to get up and keep going. Complaining wouldn't change anything. Suddenly, she spoke up. What would you do if you had a doll that could control people? She asked her colleague. Her colleague looked up. You mean, like a voodoo doll? Ji-eon blinked. Well, she wasn't wrong. Yes, Ji-eon said slowly. But you can only use it on one person. For example, let's say you could control a famous actor with it. Oh, that would be amazing, her colleague replied excitedly. I'd make them work for me while I stay home and relax. Ji-eon didn't answer. She wasn't like that. She couldn't even imagine using someone like that. Lost in thought, she suddenly cut her finger while peeling the onion. Ji-eon, are you okay? Her colleague shouted. That was when Ji-eon realized what had happened. Later, Ji-eon was sent home because of her injury. Going to the hospital would be expensive, so she chose to go straight home instead. She didn't really want to. Her place was dirty, messy, and empty. Who would want to go home to that? As she reached the gate, she sighed. I should have kept working, she thought. At least I would have made some money. Suddenly, she sensed someone behind her. Slowly, she turned around. A man stood there, wearing a cap and a mask. Ji-eon's face went pale. But then, the man quickly removed his mask and cap. It was Doyun. Relief washed over her, but the fear from that night hit her all at once. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the ground. You scared me, she shouted. I didn't mean to, Doyun explained quickly. Then his eyes fell on her hand, wrapped in cloth already stained red. What happened to your hand? He asked sharply. Is that blood? Yes, Ji-eon replied. I'll just go upstairs and put a bandage on it. What are you talking about? Doyun snapped. Look at that. Do you really think a bandage will fix this? Ji-eon fell silent. She couldn't bring herself to mention money in front of him, afraid he would make a fuss again. But Doyun's expression turned serious. Come with me, he said. Soon after, they arrived at a hospital. Ji-eon was still in shock. This wasn't a regular hospital. He had brought her straight into the emergency room. How much is this going to cost? She worried anxiously. At the reception desk, a nurse handed Doyun a form. Please write down the patient's information. Doyun paused, thinking for a moment. Then he turned and stared at Ji-eon. What? She asked, confused. What's your name? He asked. Ji-eon froze. Oh, right. He doesn't even know my name. Everything went smoothly. Ji-eon's hand was treated and properly wrapped. Still, she kept worrying about the bill. But when she reached the counter to pay, the receptionist smiled. Your guardian has already paid. You're free to go. Ji-eon stood there, stunned. Why would someone who had made such a fuss over money help her like this? As they stepped outside, she finally asked, How much was it? I'll pay you back next time. Doyun handed her a bag. No need, he said calmly. I came today to repay you. Inside the bag was the sweatshirt she had lent him that night. Don't worry, I washed it, he added. Now that we're even, I'll go. As he turned to leave, Ji-eon suddenly realized something. Everything was settled. They didn't need to meet again. But then, what about the doll? She reached into her bag and pulled out the Mingji doll. At that moment, a child running past collided with her. Oh, are you okay? Ji-eon asked worriedly. The little girl lifted her head, and her eyes immediately lit up. It's a Mingji doll, the girl exclaimed happily, grabbing it. Ji-eon stared in confusion. From head to toe, the girl was covered in Mingji-themed items, a Mingji hairpin, a Mingji bag, even Mingji slippers. She was clearly a superfan. But that doll was special. Trying to stay calm, Ji-eon smiled gently. Little girl, would you mind giving my doll back? The girl looked at her, then hugged the doll tightly, refusing to let go. Ji-eon panicked. But, that's mine, she tried to reason softly. The girl's grip only tightened. From behind, Doyun spoke. Why are you fighting over a doll? The child is in the hospital, and besides, you can get that doll anywhere. Ji-eon shot him a look. You idiot, she thought angrily. If that doll ends up in the wrong hands, you're the one in danger. Why are you still here? She snapped. Just go, I don't have time to talk. But before she could finish, she realized the little girl was already gone. Ji-eon's heart dropped. She had messed up. Badly. This is your fault, she muttered angrily. How is that my fault? Doyun replied. And why are you so upset over a doll? Ji-eon hesitated. A thought crossed her mind. What if I'm the only one who can control him through Mingji? If the doll doesn't listen to anyone else? Maybe it's fine if I don't get it back? But that fragile hope shattered instantly. Stegosaurus, I'll kill you, Doyun suddenly blurted out. His eyes widened in shock. Ji-eon's face drained of color. Now she knew. Anyone could control him with the Mingji doll, and that was very bad news. Ji-eon cried silently inside, but before she could say anything, Doyun suddenly rushed forward, as if possessed by some strange force. At the same time, two little boys snatched the Mingji doll from the little girl. We're gonna make it fight a Stegosaurus, they shouted excitedly. One of the boys held up a Stegosaurus toy and pointed it at the doll. Hey Mingji, bite the Stegosaurus. The bite came, but not from the doll. It came from a grown man. Before Doyun could actually bite the toy, Ji-eon pulled him back forcefully, covering his eyes. Oh my god, that was so close. She panted silently. Hey, what the heck, mister? One of the boys shouted. Before things could get any more chaotic, Ji-eon snatched the doll from the boy's hand. This is my doll, she said firmly, and you shouldn't play with other people's things. But in the very next second, the doll was grabbed again, this time by the little girl. It's Yunul's, she mumbled softly, hugging the doll tightly to her chest, tears welling in her eyes. Anyway, we're leaving, the two boys said, grabbing their toy and running off. Ji-eon turned to the girl. Eunil? She called gently, trying to reason with her. But Eunil only tightened her grip. Mingji is my friend, she said softly. Ji-eon? Doyun called from the side. It happened again, didn't it? Ugh, I can't believe this. He rubbed his head in embarrassment. Anyway, where am I? He asked. Oh, we're still in the hospital, Ji-eon replied. Oh, he said, glancing at the girl beside her. So you finally found her? Ji-eon nodded slightly. Yeah. She couldn't exactly tell him that he was the one who had led her here earlier. Meanwhile, Doyun was clearly frustrated. He even considered seeing a doctor, since they were already at the hospital. Ji-eon turned back to the girl. Yoon-yul, she said softly. This Mingji doll is really important to me. She paused, then turned to Doyun. And it's also really important to him. So could you please give it back? Doyun frowned. Why is she dragging me into this? That doll has nothing to do with me. Yoon-yul went quiet. Then suddenly she hugged Ji-eon instead. I'm sorry, the girl said softly. I'm sorry to Mingji too. Ji-eon smiled despite herself. The girl was adorable. Then Yoon-yul leaned closer and whispered in Ji-eon's ear, You know, Mingji has something to say. What? Ji-eon asked. Mingji wants to thank you for taking care of her, Yoon-yul whispered. And Mingji says she loves you. I see, Ji-eon murmured. But then her gaze drifted back to the doll. The girl had said all that while holding Mingji. Ji-eon slowly turned away, her thoughts spinning. Love, this doll can't control people's feelings, right? She instinctively looked at Doyun. His expression gave her the answer. Of course not, her mind screamed. Doyun looked irritated. If we're done here, I'm leaving, he said curtly. Ji-eon smiled faintly and turned back to Yoon-yul. All right, give Mingji back to me and go find your mom, okay? Yoon-yul smiled brightly. Okay. Goodbye, and kisses, sister, she said cheerfully. Mingji, you give kisses too. She handed the doll back and ran off. Ji-eon stood frozen. What did that child just say? Before she could gather her thoughts, Doyun suddenly grabbed her shoulder from behind and turned her toward him. He reached up to remove his hat. Hey, what are you doing? Ji-eon blurted out in panic. It's cold, put it back. Doyun tossed the hat aside. I've lost control of my body again, he said, his voice shaking. And I'm not doing this on purpose. His face was filled with shock. Ji-eon's heart began to race. Doyun stepped closer. I don't know what's happening to me, he said urgently, but just hit me. If you don't, then I will. He wrapped his hand around the back of her neck, pulling her face close to his. Ji-eon knew she had to do something, but her mind went completely blank. The next morning, Doyun woke up in his bed. He slowly sat up as his mind began to clear, trying to remember how he had even gotten home the previous night. Reaching for his phone, he checked the time. It was already Friday afternoon, but what truly scared him, he couldn't remember anything he had done yesterday. His phone was silent. That at least meant he hadn't caused any public scene, right? Then what had he done all day? He clearly remembered going out to return that woman's clothes, but after that, nothing. Confused, he took a sip of his coffee. Is this early signs of dementia? He wondered uneasily. But the moment the hot coffee touched his lips, fragments of broken memories flashed through his mind. And in those fragments, he saw her lips. The cup slipped from his hand and crashed to the floor. Why her lips? He whispered. Slowly he reached up and touched his own lips. The lingering sensation told him exactly what might have happened. Meanwhile, back at the convenience store, Ji-eon sighed in frustration. She had completely lost control again. But what was she supposed to do? Doyun Nam looked too handsome. She should have told him to stop, but instead she had said, Doyun Nam, get on your knees. And in the very next instant, Doyun had obeyed. He dropped to his knees, but instead of what she intended, he ended up kissing her shoes. The moment it happened, Doyun's eyes widened in shock. Ji-eon froze too, realizing just how disastrous the situation had become. At least, she had managed to stop things before it turned into something worse. Doyun sat there stunned. Did I just kiss your shoe? He murmured. Hey, it's okay, it was just an accident, Ji-eon tried to explain quickly, but it didn't help. It's always you, he said coldly. Whenever I'm near you, something like this happens. He looked at her sharply. And I won't let you get away with it. Ji-eon saw how furious he was. She had no choice. With a quiet sigh, she used the Mingji doll again. Doyun Nam, she said softly, forget everything that just happened. Go home and sleep. In the next moment, Doyun turned without hesitation and began walking away. Hey, don't forget your hat and mask, Ji-eon called out, suddenly remembering he was a famous actor. Doyun immediately complied, picking them up and leaving. No matter how dangerous the Mingji doll was, it was the only reason she had been able to handle that difficult man. As Ji-eon muttered under her breath, still annoyed at Doyun, she noticed a group of high school girls outside the store. As a clerk, it was her responsibility to make sure underage teens didn't buy alcohol. She sighed, wondering what trick they would try today. Then she noticed a familiar face. It was the same man from before, the one who had helped her and given her green grape candy. He was now standing outside talking to those girls. A moment later, the man entered the store. He casually picked up a bag of candy and 2 bottles of soju, placing them on the counter. Ji-eon's eyes widened. She had thought he was a good person. So why? Can I see your ID? She asked. The man handed it over. Ji-eon checked it. Everything was valid. She had no reason to refuse, so she completed the transaction. But as he walked out, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Is he really buying that for those girls? If he was, how could he even call himself an adult? Without realizing it, Ji-eon stepped outside to check. She saw the man laughing and chatting with the girls. Hey! She called out, walking toward him. But before she could say anything, the man suddenly opened one of the bottles and gulped it down. Then the second. Everyone stood there, completely shocked. The girls, however, were furious. That was our money, one of them shouted. Give it back! The man made a face, as if he was about to throw up. Before anything worse could happen, the girls ran off, cursing at him. The man remained standing there. From behind, Ji-eon approached carefully. Hey, are you okay? She asked, worried. The man turned slightly, his face flushed red. I'm not a bad... Before he could finish, his body gave out. He collapsed to the ground, unconscious. At home, Doyun sat on the sofa deep in thought. There was no way he had actually kissed her, right? Maybe it had all just been a dream. She hadn't contacted him all day either. Did she not care, or what? But more than that, what was wrong with him? Even if they had kissed, it shouldn't be a big deal. They were adults. So why couldn't he remember it clearly? It had to be because of that woman. Every time he met her, something strange happened. Forget it. I should just sleep, he muttered. But another thought crept in. Why had her lips felt so cold? Does she have a circulation problem or something? He wondered, frowning. Outside the convenience store, Ji-eon sat across from the man who had just passed out. Why did you do that? She scolded lightly. You could have died drinking like that. I used to be able to handle it, the man grumbled, rubbing his head against the table. I guess I'm getting older. Ji-eon let out a quiet sigh of relief. At least he wasn't a bad guy. She went inside and took out a few boxes of frozen meals. Based on how often he came to the store and the fact that he always wore the same clothes, she had assumed he might be unemployed. So she carried the boxes outside and placed them in front of him. I'm supposed to throw these away soon, she said casually. They're about to expire, so just eat them. It won't kill you. The man slowly lifted his head. A small smile spread across his face. He stood up, grabbed Ji-eon's hand and asked, You're a good person. Do you want to be my friend? Ji-eon quickly pulled her hand back. Hey, don't get the wrong idea, she clarified. I'm just giving you food this one time. Then she went back inside. The man remained outside. After a while, he spoke again. I'm not asking for a free meal, he said quietly. I just don't really have any friends. So can we be friends? He suddenly sat down, looking a little dejected. Well, you seem like you have a lot of friends, he mumbled sadly. Ji-eon scoffed in disbelief. This guy was completely different from her first impression of him. You should go home, she suggested gently. It's already morning. The man suddenly looked up, startled. Oh no, I forgot, I have to send it by this afternoon, he exclaimed. He quickly handed Ji-eon a flyer, scribbling something on it before rushing off. He grabbed the meal boxes from outside, then turned back briefly. Thanks for the food, keep in touch, friend, he called out with a grin. Ji-eon looked down at the flyer. On it was written his name and phone number. The next day, Ji-eon received a call from one of her former colleagues. Her friend asked if she could help with a cleaning job she couldn't attend due to personal reasons. Ji-eon wasn't really inclined to go, but she couldn't bring herself to say no, so she went to the address her friend had given her. It felt almost comical. She could barely keep her own apartment clean, and here she was going to clean someone else's house. She rang the doorbell and greeted politely. Hello, I'm filling in for Miss... Her words stopped mid-sentence, because the person who opened the door was none other than Doyun Nam. Doyun looked just as surprised, but after quickly understanding the situation, he stepped aside and let her in. Ji-eon couldn't believe it. One moment he was kissing her shoe, and the next he was technically her boss. Before she could say anything, another voice came from the living room. The scripts are ready, come read them. It was Doyun's manager. Doyun sat down beside him and began reading. It's all romance. I don't do romance, Doyun commented flatly. Hey, what's wrong with romance, the manager replied. If you don't do romance dramas, it's a waste of your talent. From the side, Ji-eon nodded slightly while continuing her cleaning. What does he think? That he'll stay handsome forever, she thought. But Doyun remained firm. It's my face. I'll decide how to use it, he said arrogantly. Damn, you're so arrogant, the manager muttered. Doyun didn't even deny it. Then suddenly, the manager asked, Ait, is this because of Kim? Both Doyun and Ji-eon's eyes widened. Doyun's, with shock. Ji-eon's, with excitement. After all, Kim was her favorite writer. What does this have to do with Kim? Doyun asked quietly. His manager advised him not to let personal matters interfere. Doyun, women don't like guys who are petty, he warned. Ji-eon's curiosity spiked. This was juicy. Eventually, the manager left, telling Doyun to think it over again. When Doyun returned inside, he noticed Ji-eon glancing at the script. What are you doing? He asked. Can I read a little? She asked cautiously. I won't spoil anything, I promise. Doyun didn't care much, so he allowed her to read while he sat on the sofa. He studied her for a moment. Are you really that casual about it? He asked. Ji-eon looked confused. About what? I guess what happened wasn't a big deal to you, he said. That's when Ji-eon realized he was talking about the kiss. I didn't think you remembered, she murmured. Why wouldn't I? Doyun replied irritably. He had no idea she had used Mingji to erase his memory before. It was strange. He remembered it, but he didn't look furious about it. Maybe she had gone too far, so she decided to be honest. Doyun, I'm sorry, I'm sure neither of us wanted that to happen, but you understand the situation, right? Doyun looked at her for a long moment, then turned his face away. Whatever. Just finish your cleaning and leave. Ji-eon smiled slightly and resumed cleaning. Maybe Doyun Nam wasn't so narrow-minded after all. That thought didn't last long. A few minutes later, Doyun walked into the room munching snacks and deliberately scattering crumbs everywhere. Hey, what are you doing? Ji-eon protested. What? Can't I eat in my own house? He replied shamelessly. That's when Ji-eon realized he was still a jerk. She mentally took back everything nice she had just thought about him. After 2 hours, Ji-eon finished and left. Doyun sat alone in the dining area, feeling oddly irritated. Maybe he had been petty earlier, but when Ji-eon said so casually that the kiss didn't matter to her, that she hadn't even wanted it, it felt humiliating. After all, it was him. As he sat there in a bad mood, his manager called. Doyun, I just found out Hyunsu-won will be the new face of Dear Apartment. What? Why? Doyun stood up abruptly. Then came the second blow. Hyunsu-won also signed with our agency. So, Doyun, think about it again, his manager suggested. After a long silence, Doyun finally replied, Fine, I'll do it. I'll do the romance drama. Elsewhere, a script was being sent to a production studio. The message read, I don't have a preference for director or the rest of the casting, but for the male lead in all my dramas, my first choice is Doyun Nam. The reply came shortly after. Okay, Gimsuk. So who is Jimsuk Kim? Jimsuk debuted as a drama scriptwriter 9 years ago. Although his first drama failed, his later works became increasingly popular, eventually establishing him as the nation's top romance drama writer. Kim keeps a very low profile, so not much is known about him beyond the basics. As Ji-eon was sleeping peacefully, her phone suddenly rang. It was her colleague from the convenience store. Ji-eon, do you have some bad business with someone? He asked cautiously. Ji-eon immediately sat up. What are you talking about? She asked confused. Her colleague informed her that a man had been wandering around the store asking about her. Ji-eon had a feeling she knew who it might be. When she asked what the man looked like, her colleague described him as tall, dressed all in black, with dark circles under his eyes. Her suspicion was confirmed. Wait for me. I'll be there, she said with a sigh. When she arrived at the store, she saw the man sitting there clearly waiting for her. Hey, don't you know this is inappropriate? You could get arrested for this, she scolded lightly. The man looked up at her. I'm sorry. I waited for your call, but you didn't call, so I came here, he explained. Ji-eon sighed. Sorry. Something came up yesterday. The man smiled gently. So, are you free today? He asked, standing up. You gave me those food boxes. Let me buy you lunch. Ji-eon looked puzzled. It's okay. You don't even have money. There's no need. She waved it off. But I do have money, he replied calmly. Ji-eon blinked in surprise. Still confused, she ended up going with him anyway. She chose a cheap restaurant. As they sat down for lunch, he asked, So, what are your interests? Ji-eon blinked again. Why was this man so obsessed with becoming friends? Was he trying to brainwash her into it? As her thoughts wandered, her eyes drifted toward a poster on the wall. It was a poster of Doyun Nam. Her mood instantly soured. She couldn't believe she had to see that dumb man's face even here. Across from her, the man noticed where she was looking. Tilting his head slightly, he asked, Do you like Doyun Nam? Ji-eon snapped her gaze back to him. Excuse me? Does my face look like someone who likes him? Oh, sorry, you were looking at him so intently, so I thought... He trailed off. No, it's because I dislike him, Ji-eon clarified firmly. That's new, he said with a smile. I've never met any woman who dislikes Doyun Nam. Well, I guess I'm not the type who likes someone just for their looks, Ji-eon replied. I like Doyun Nam, he added casually. He's good at acting and kind. Ji-eon nearly choked. Kind? Doyun Nam? You don't know what celebrities are like in real life, she said with a sigh. Do you watch a lot of dramas? He asked. Yes, don't you? Ji-eon asked back while playing with her food. No, I prefer tunes, he replied. But what drama would you recommend? Why are you asking? You just said you're not into them, Ji-eon said, confused. Saein smiled softly. But I can start getting into them. You're supposed to share interests and hobbies with your friend, right? Ji-eon blinked. Then somewhat awkwardly she answered, My ponytail lover. Seeing her expression, Saein asked gently, Why do you like it so much? Ji-eon paused before answering. Well, it's not just this drama. This writer makes my heart flutter. I stopped caring about romance a long time ago, but I can still get butterflies. That's how good this author is. Saein smiled. Really? So what kind of things would make you feel that way in real life? Ji-eon paused again. Well, the memory of Saein giving her candy came to mind. Now that she thought about it, she liked small, simple gestures like that, but of course she couldn't tell him that. Her face flushed red with embarrassment. Hey! Why are you asking me all this? If you keep this up, we're not going to be friends, she warned. Saein lowered his head dramatically. Okay, I won't, he said, but inside, feeling those same butterflies, he quietly smiled. On the other side, Doyun Nam sat with a pile of scripts in front of him. Although he had agreed to do a romance drama earlier, he had specifically said he wouldn't do Gumsuk Kim's project. Still, as he read through the other scripts, irritation filled him. None of them were as good as that jerk's work, and that annoyed him even more. After finishing lunch, Ji-eon left the restaurant. Before parting ways, she ended up giving Se-in her number, which meant they had officially become friends. On her way back, she also stopped by a real estate agency to make some inquiries. She didn't want anything fancy, just a place big enough for her and her mom to live together. She would soon be able to gather the 20% upfront payment, just a little more effort. As she passed a cafe, she noticed students studying inside, even though it was Sunday. But that was fine. She was working hard too. Their journeys were simply different. Trying to keep her morale high, she called her mom. Hey mom, how are you? Sorry I wasn't able to call you. I'm fine. It's good to hear you're doing okay, her mother replied warmly. It's getting chilly these days. I wonder how your father is. Ji-eon paused at the mention of her father. Mom, do you really want to talk about Dad? Because I don't, she said, her voice tightening. It's because of him that I have to stay away from you. He ruined our family and ran off to live by himself. So why do you still care about him? Why? Her composure slipped. Ji-eon, I was just talking casually. Why are you getting so angry? Fine, I won't talk about him, her mother said softly before ending the call. Ji-eon sighed. She regretted losing her temper. But it would be okay. Soon, when she bought a home for the two of them, they would finally live together again. That was all that mattered. As she continued walking, she noticed a commotion near a small restaurant. A man was arguing with an old man, demanding that he pay for what he had eaten. Ji-eon slowly turned her gaze toward the old man. And then she recognized him. It was the same old man from the convenience store, the one who had given her the Mingji doll. The man arguing with the old man finally let him go. The old man began walking away freely. Ji-eon rushed forward. She had to catch him. She couldn't let him run away this time. You remember me, don't you? She called out, running after him. The old man blinked. Who are you? Her anger flared. I'm the one you gave that trash doll in handcuffs to at the convenience store. Do you even know how much trouble I went through because of that doll? Oh, is it because I didn't give you the instructions? The old man asked casually. Ji-eon blinked. What instructions? There was a note attached. Red letters on a yellow piece of paper, he explained. The color drained from Ji-eon's face. Didn't you get it from a crane game? He asked. Did I say that? The old man muttered vaguely. That's when Ji-eon realized this foolish old man hadn't won it from a crane game. There had been a talisman attached to the doll. Should I throw it away or just burn it? She murmured to herself. You shouldn't do that, the old man said casually. Why not? Ji-eon demanded. But before she could get an answer, the old man vanished again. Ji-eon went home and pulled the doll out from under her bed. After that chaotic day, she had hidden it away. Now there was only one option she could see. She should give it to Doyun Nam. If she couldn't destroy it, then it shouldn't stay with her. But she had no way to contact him. She always ran into him by accident. And now, when she actually needed to reach him, she didn't know how. As she scrolled through her phone, she noticed Doyun Nam was trending. This time it wasn't because of some weird scandal, but because a director who had just won a top film award had previously worked with Doyun in a movie that was now trending again. On the other side, Hyun Soo-won had an ulterior motive. He wanted to crush Doyun Nam completely. That was why he had made a deal with the CEO of Doyun's agency, to bring about Doyun's downfall once and for all. Hyun-soo was confident, because he had one woman on his side. Back at home, Ji-eon wondered what it must feel like to receive so much attention. She didn't realize how overwhelming it actually was. At that very moment, Doyun was on the floor of his house, panting, struggling through a panic attack. Ji-eon's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Who is this? I'm disappointed you didn't even save my number. It was Se-in. Oh, sorry. What's up? Ji-eon asked. Do you want to watch a movie? They're screening my favorite one, he said. It happened to be a movie featuring Doyun Nam, but Ji-eon needed to meet Doyun, so she declined. Se-in sighed softly. He had worked up all his courage to ask her. Ji-eon arrived at Doyun Nam's house. Once she solved this doll issue, both she and Doyun could finally breathe. She rang the doorbell. No answer. For a moment, she wanted to run away instead of facing him again. But, Doyun, are you home? It's Ji-eon, she called out. Still no response. She leaned closer to the door, trying to listen. And then, she heard a faint groaning sound. Her eyes widened. What was going on? She remembered how Doyun had panicked at her house before. Without wasting a second, she pulled out Mingji and made a request. Doyun Nam, open the door! After a few seconds, the door slowly opened. Doyun stood there, panting heavily. Ji-eon realized she had been right. He was struggling. Doyun, breathe slowly, she said gently. Doyun listened. He followed her voice. Slowly, he began to calm down. It's okay, Ji-eon reassured him. She helped him lie down on the sofa. Are you okay? Should I call an ambulance? She asked. Doyun shook his head weakly. Why did you come here? He asked. I have something to talk to you about, she replied. Embarrassed, Doyun muttered. I won't do anything, even if you're stalking me, so just go. Ji-eon grabbed him firmly. But you have to listen to me first. Meanwhile, the woman Hyunsu was relying on for his confidence returned after finishing a task given by her father. She was Sae-jeon, the daughter of the WJP Group, one of the top conglomerates with subsidiaries ranging from food to transportation. The head of the family was President Gwanmok Ji-eon, who had 3 sons and 1 daughter, Sae-jeon. WJS Entertainment, the largest company in the broadcasting industry, was run by Sae. Although her management style was widely praised, she had one major flaw. She was a serial dater, having been involved with nearly half the men in the industry and was currently on her way to meet a man. Back at home, Doyun sat holding the doll. So, you're saying this doll controls my actions? He asked. Ji-eon hesitated, then nodded. It didn't make any sense, but at the same time, it explained everything. All the bizarre things that had happened suddenly felt justified. Ji-eon quickly clarified that she had never done anything on purpose. In fact, she had been trying to fix things all along. Doyun's expression darkened. Stop lying. You totally played me, he said sharply. You even violated me. Violated? When did I do that? Ji-eon asked, confused. Doyun couldn't believe her reaction. She wasn't even acknowledging the kiss. Fine, he said coldly. If you didn't do anything on purpose, then I'll forgive you, on one condition. Ji-eon looked up. What condition? Doyun leaned closer, a dangerous smile forming on his lips. I want you to experience everything I went through, one by one. Ji-eon's face turned pale. Everything. Just thinking about what had happened to Doyun gave her chills. Meanwhile, Doyun scoffed inwardly at her expression. Just look at her face, he thought. Ji-eon quickly thought through her options. She couldn't refuse. Everything else was manageable, but kissing a shoe. Still, she finally replied. Fine, I'll do it. Doyun, sitting in front of her, smiled dangerously. He, Doyun Nam, had never been treated like this in his entire life, and she just wanted to forget the kiss, after making him think about her all day, after coming here and calming him down. What do I have to do? Ji-eon asked. Doyun leaned in, he grabbed her face, his hand moving to the back of her neck, and pulled her into a kiss. Now try forgetting this, he challenged. The moment it happened, both of their faces went pale. Ji-eon froze, realizing what had just happened. Doyun, on the other hand, realized something else entirely. The sensation he felt now was completely different from before. That's when it hit him. He had never kissed her lips before. He had kissed her shoe. Suddenly, a sharp hit landed on his head. Why did you hit me? He asked. Ji-eon glared at him. Hit you? You still don't know why I hit you, she snapped. Fine. If you don't want me to hit you, then hit yourself instead. She turned to Ming-ji and gave the command. In the next moment, Doyun began hitting himself, as if possessed. Ji-eon stood up to leave. Wait, Ji-eon, Doyun called out. How long is this going to last? He asked. Ji-eon didn't stop. He couldn't let her leave like this, so he finally said, I thought we had kissed. Ji-eon paused. At the hospital, I thought we kissed. I got it all wrong and got angry, he admitted. But now I realize what actually happened. Ji-eon turned back, still angry. Is that all you have to say? She asked. Doyun remained silent for a moment. Then he spoke. No. I have a proposal for you. Elsewhere, Hyunsu-won called Sae to meet him. He asked for her help in bringing down Doyun Nam, but Sae was not someone who could be easily persuaded. Hyunsu-won, she said calmly. You know women from other agencies throw men away once they hit 25. You're 35. But I've kept you around, she continued, because I'm not good at throwing away things I've grown attached to. She paused. Then suddenly she tightened her grip around Hyunsu's face, a face she had been caressing just moments ago. But now, you've lost that freshness. You're worn out, she said coldly. It might be time to let you go. She pulled her hand away. Hyunsu grabbed it quickly. No! What are you talking about? He panicked. Sae stood up. You want me to interfere between you and Doyun, she said. You should handle that yourself. Then she turned back once more before leaving. And if you call me again for this, she said coldly, I'll destroy you. With that, she walked away. Back at home, Ji-eon blinked. A proposal? With a sigh and slightly sore cheeks, Doyun nodded. I know this is sudden and shameless of me to even bring this up, he began. Because of that doll, we've been through so many mishaps, but it could also be an opportunity for us. He hesitated before continuing. So please, help me. I can't stay like this forever. In truth, Doyun Nam wasn't even sure what he was saying. He was just blurting out anything to stop Ji-eon from leaving. He even laughed inwardly at himself. There was no way Ji-eon would take him seriously. But then, are you having a hard time? She asked softly. Doyun paused. He looked up. Ji-eon was staring at him with genuine concern. Because of the panic attacks? She added. Doyun nodded slowly. As you witnessed, I get panic attacks. I may have many fans, but I also have people who want me to fail. I'm always anxious, never knowing when the next online attack will hit. The idea he had in mind was wild, but he thought it might actually work. So, if you could help me like you did earlier, Before he could finish, Ji-eon suddenly threw Ming-ji at his face. "No!" she shouted. "You only need this doll, not me, so it doesn't have to be me. Just do whatever you want with it." "No," Doyun said firmly. "It has to be you because... He paused, scrambling for a reason. "Because not many people can know about this." Yeah, something like that. But Ji-eon wasn't interested. She turned away. "That's not my business." "Gumsa Kim!" Doyun suddenly called out in panic. Ji-eon stopped. "You like Gumsa Kim, right? I'm going to star in their drama. I'll let you read the script. You can even meet Gumsa Kim," he added with a knowing smile. That definitely tempted her. Who wouldn't want to meet their idol? Still, she tried to stay composed. "No, come on. Think about it. You'll get paid 5 times more than what you're earning now." Ji-eon smirked inwardly. "So you think money solves everything? But go on," she said calmly. "If that's not enough, you'll also get other benefits." Ji-eon tried to hide her growing smile. "What do you take me for?" she asked, pretending to be offended. "But continue." "All right, you can get anything you want." At that point, Ji-eon saw no real reason to refuse, so she agreed. On her way home, she met Se-in. She informed him about her new job and told him she wouldn't be working at the convenience store anymore. Se-in smiled warmly. "Congratulations! I'm lucky I got to become your friend before you left." "Yeah, but I won't be able to give you free food boxes anymore," she teased. "I hadn't thought about that," he laughed. "But now that we won't run into each other at the store, we'll have to make plans to meet." He hesitated slightly before adding, "So, we should go watch a movie." "Well, sure," Ji-eon replied. Just then, one of her other colleagues arrived. "Hey, Ji-eon," she called out loudly. But when she noticed Se-in, she paused. "Who is this?" she asked curiously. "Oh, he's just a friend," Ji-eon replied. "Oh, okay. Then I'll see you tomorrow. I don't want to disturb you," her colleague said before walking away. She assumed Ji-eon didn't have many friends, so maybe this man was her boyfriend or something. But suddenly, she stopped and turned back. Why does this man look familiar, she wondered, glancing at Se-in thoughtfully. The next day, Manager Kim's shock was obvious the moment he heard Doyun's decision. "A new personal manager?" he repeated. "Was I not enough?" Doyun quickly shook his head. "It's not like that. You're busy with other responsibilities. You won't be able to follow me around all the time, and hiring temporary managers is a headache." "Still, I'm surprised," Manager Kim muttered. But no one was more surprised than Doyun himself. He had thought Ji-eon would just storm out. Instead, she had shown genuine concern. He had ended up telling her everything. And then there was the doll too, he sighed. They had even drawn up a separate contract, apart from his work contract. It stated that Doyun would personally pay her expenses. There were also strict rules, no monetary exploitation, and absolutely no indecent physical demands. Ji-eon had immediately protested. "Excuse me? Do you even remember what you did?" she shouted, pointing at her lips. Doyun slumped in defeat. "After everything I went through, let's just call it even." Ji-eon scoffed. "I never did anything on purpose. But you did that deliberately," she argued fiercely. But when Doyun raised his puppy-like eyes, who could say no to that face? "Fine," she muttered at last. At work, Ji-eon informed Min-jung about her new job. She also casually mentioned that she was going to watch a movie with a friend. Min-jung's eyes lit up. "That's great! You'll have more free time. Now, perfect for dating." Dating? Ji-eon had never even had time to think about that. But dating Se-in? The thought made her cheeks flush. "But where did you meet him?" Min-jung asked curiously. "Oh, at the convenience store. He used to come there a lot." "Convenience store?" Min-jung repeated. She blinked slowly. Something about that rang a bell. And for some reason, she felt an odd sense of unease. That night, Ji-eon called all her part-time workplaces and officially quit. She lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Then suddenly, she realized she needed to pick an outfit. Earlier, Min-jung had strongly advised her not to wear hoodies or sweatshirts. But when Ji-eon opened her closet, she realized none of her clothes looked good. She tried on multiple outfits, but nothing felt suitable. She couldn't even remember the last time she went shopping. Looking around at her messy room, she thought she should probably clean the house too. She was sorting through clothes when a huge cockroach suddenly ran across the wall. Her entire body froze. Doyun's phone rang. "Ji-eon!" he murmured, seeing her name on the screen. "Doyun!" she screamed the moment he answered. "I'm calling under condition number 2 of our contract. Come over right now, please hurry." Ji-eon sat outside her house on the rooftop, waiting for Doyun. After a while, he finally arrived, covering his entire face with a cap, sunglasses, and a mask. "Hey, why did you call me in the middle of the night?" he asked, noticing her sitting there in just a cami. "And why are you outside like this?" Without another word, he pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her. "In there," she muttered, pointing toward the house. Doyun cautiously entered. Seeing nothing unusual, he frowned. "What's in here? There was a cockroach. But it seems like it's gone," she mumbled nervously. The color drained from Doyun's face. A cockroach? Seriously? You called me just to catch a bug for you? He scoffed in disbelief. Ji-eon nodded. Oh, come on. If there's a bug, catch it yourself or call an exterminator. Why me? She pulled out their contract. I thought you were supposed to fulfill all my requests. That's only for financial needs, Doyun replied quickly. Then he glanced around the messy room. And you should clean your place. You did fine at my house, so why not clean yours too? Look, the sweatshirt I returned is lying on the floor. Oh, right, Ji-eon said casually. I meant to ask, which fabric softener do you use? There's such a nice fragrance coming from you and from this jacket. I want to buy it too. Doyun sighed. What's the point? It's just going to end up in a pile again. Easy for you to say. I'm always busy working. These clothes are out because I was picking an outfit. Doyun almost laughed. Was she trying to dress up because she's working with me now? He wondered. You should just wear what you're comfortable in, he advised. But I want to look cute too, she replied honestly. Doyun turned away quickly, hiding a smile. She can be cute sometimes, he thought. Then he froze. What was he even thinking, calling her cute? He was getting too close. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving, he said, heading toward the door. But Ji-eon grabbed the hem of his hoodie. Wait, what if it comes out again? I'm afraid to touch that pile of clothes. Doyun turned around sharply, pulling his hoodie back. Ji-eon, you need to learn how to separate personal and professional matters. Our relationship is tricky. I'm just your employer. Ji-eon stared at him silently. Was I too harsh? Doyun wondered for a second. Then Ji-eon suddenly whispered, There it is. She pointed toward the wall. Doyun's face went pale. It was huge. I can't catch that, he muttered. I've never even seen a bug in my life. There are no bugs in my house. Then what if I use Mingji to catch it? Ji-eon suggested. Hey, no! Doyun panicked immediately. Don't use that thing. But Ji-eon in her panic ordered, Left! Doyun's body moved on its own. No, he shouted. At least give me something to use to catch it. I'm sorry, Ji-eon cried, pointing frantically toward the cockroach. Before he could stop himself, Doyun slapped the wall with his bare hand. Then he froze. What had he just done? Ji-eon froze too, realizing what she had made him do. But then, she noticed the cockroach had escaped through the window. She quickly shut it. Doyun slumped onto the floor, staring at his hand, overwhelmed. Seeing it was clean, he shouted, Just clean this place! Then you won't have to worry about things like this. I ran over here because I was worried, but this is ridiculous. He stood up and added, Give me Mingji. I'm not giving it back to you unless it's necessary. Ji-eon handed the doll over. She also gave him his jacket back. Seeing her standing there in just her cami, Doyun's face flushed red. Just keep it, he muttered, tossing it back at her before leaving. After Doyun left, Ji-eon finally finished cleaning the room. Then she lay down on her bed. She was going to watch a movie with Se-in. Was it really a date? Her cheeks reddened at the thought. The next day, Manager Kim looked confused. Why did we come to the mall? And what was that thing you had me send earlier? He asked. It's nothing, Doyun replied casually. Then after a pause, he asked hesitantly, Anyway, is Jim-suk Kim working on anything? Manager Kim laughed. What, do you suddenly want to work with her? Are you feeling lonely? Doyun sighed. Everyone still believed Jim-suk Kim was a woman, but Doyun knew the truth. Jim-suk Kim was a man, and he was only asking because he had promised Ji-eon he would let her read Jim-suk Kim's next drama. At home, Ji-eon was getting ready for her movie outing. She had called Min-jung over to help her. What perfume are you wearing? Min-jung asked, sniffing the air. It smells amazing. Oh, you like it? It's on the desk. You can try it, Ji-eon replied. Min-jung's eyes widened. Oh my gosh, did you buy this? No. Why? Ji-eon asked innocently. Min-jung told her the price. Ji-eon gasped. She had no idea it was that expensive. She only knew that Doyun Nam had handed it to her in a plastic bag, explaining that the scent she liked on him wasn't fabric softener, it was this perfume. Can I eat this candy? Min-jung asked, reaching for a snack. Ji-eon immediately stood up. Oh, not that one. I bought other snacks yesterday. Those candies had been given to her by Se-in. Back at home, Doyun lay on his sofa, scrolling through his phone. Then he noticed Ji-eon had changed her profile picture, so she finally picked an outfit. Should I call her, he wondered. Meanwhile, Ji-eon arrived at the theater. Se-in also grabbed a taxi, wondering if Ji-eon had already reached. He pulled out his phone to text her, but then he saw a message from someone he never expected. Ji-eon sat quietly, waiting. Maybe she had arrived too early. There was still time. Her phone rang. It was Se-in. Ji-eon, are you there already? He asked. Embarrassed, she lied. No, I'm just about to leave. Then that's a relief, Se-in said softly. I'm really sorry, but I can't make it today. Something important came up. I know I look like a jerk, but I have to take care of it. Ji-eon felt disappointed for a moment. But it wasn't really a date. It was just a plan between friends. All right, she replied quietly. Se-in arrived at another location. He hesitated before opening the door. Then he slowly pushed it open. Hey, it's been a while, he said. Inside, Doyun was sitting. Se-in took a seat across from him. It took you 5 years to reach out to me, Se-in said lightly. Weren't you lonely? I'm your only friend after all. It's not like you have any other friends either, Doyun replied coldly. Well, I made a new friend, Se-in said proudly. Then he added, making your comeback in one of my dramas wouldn't be a bad idea. Doyun sighed. So he already knew what Doyun wanted to say. But, Se-in paused. 6 years is a long time. Doyun clenched his teeth. You should be happy I didn't delete your number. Se-in looked at him calmly. I'm just saying, you took a long break from acting. Doyun suddenly slammed his hand on the table. And whose fault is that, he demanded. Se-in lowered his gaze. I'm sorry that I played a part in what happened 6 years ago. Doyun's hand tightened around the tablecloth. So are you here to take responsibility, or laugh in my face? Or are you planning to use someone else's struggles to write another script? Because I don't need that. Se-in's expression hardened briefly. Then he looked up. Can you honestly say you're still the same Doyun Nam from your peak? He asked quietly. We both started with nothing. I built my career since then. You didn't. That's the truth. I'll let you use me, but in exchange. Meanwhile, Ji-eon decided to watch the movie alone. She had already come all dressed up. Going home like this felt pointless, so she decided to watch Doyun Nam's film instead. After all, it would be good preparation before starting her new job. The movie being screened was Doyun's recently trending film, the one whose director had just won an award. In it, Doyun played Prince Sampyeong. Until now, Ji-eon had mostly seen him in advertisements, but watching him on the big screen, he was truly a serious actor. She couldn't take her eyes off him. Although it was a supporting role, as a prince he looked charming and undeniably handsome. The longer Ji-eon stared at him on screen, the more she realized just how attractive and hot he really was. Her mouth slowly fell open. A long finger gently pushed her chin up, closing her mouth. Startled, Ji-eon turned her head. Sitting beside her was Doyun Nam. Close your mouth, he said with a teasing smile. You'll get drool everywhere. Outside the theater, Ji-eon turned to him in shock. What are you doing here? Isn't that what I should be asking you? Doyun replied. Do you know how surprised I was to walk into the theater and see you there? Well, I was already out, so I thought I'd watch a movie, Ji-eon said casually. Doing my homework, since we'll be working together. Oh? Doyun raised an eyebrow. But it seemed like you couldn't take your eyes off me. Just then, a group of girls walked past. Sensing them, Ji-eon quickly covered Doyun's face and pushed him down slightly. Get down. Behind them, the girls giggled. Doyun Nam totally stole my heart, one of them whispered. Both Ji-eon and Doyun heard every word. When the girls were gone, Doyun looked at her. So, what was your review of the movie? Ji-eon looked at him thoughtfully. Well, speaking about your role, she began slowly, I made me think, wow, you really are an actor. She hesitated. But it also made me see you in a different light. It felt strange. The man she had just seen on the big screen, the beautiful, tragic prince, was now standing right in front of her, and she still couldn't believe someone like him could portray such a deeply emotional character. Well, Doyun muttered, looking away, don't go joining a fan club now. No, I won't, Ji-eon replied honestly. They sat outside together. But why are you here? Ji-eon asked again. Well, to be honest, this is only the second time I've watched the movie after the premiere. Ji-eon's eyes widened in shock. You've only watched it twice? Why? I was embarrassed by my acting, Doyun admitted quietly. I believe an actor should act, but when I was filming this, I was too wrapped up in my personal emotions. He paused. Some people use that to enhance their performance, but I don't like it. It feels too vulnerable. I know no one else can tell, but it makes me cringe. Then he suddenly turned to her. Hey, why am I the only one talking? You say something too. Like, what? Ji-eon asked. Tell me why you work so hard, Doyun said. Ji-eon looked at him for a moment before sighing. Well, I have issues with my parents too. Too? Doyun murmured. Ji-eon raised her head slightly. The part you mentioned, about getting swept up in your emotions, wasn't that the scene with your father in the movie? She asked carefully. Doyun blinked. You could tell that? He whispered, bewildered. Ji-eon nodded. Doyun slumped slightly in embarrassment. That's so embarrassing, he muttered. Why is it getting popular now? Ji-eon smiled gently. Well, I guess I finally found something we have in common. She looked ahead thoughtfully. Life sure is hard, huh? Doyun lifted his head slowly. He didn't say anything, but silently, he agreed. Meanwhile, Se-in, after meeting Doyun, tried to contact Ji-eon, but he couldn't reach her, so he began sending messages, asking where she was. As he sat alone, he replayed Doyun's words in his mind, about using other people's struggles to write his scripts. He sighed. 6 years was too long. Too much time had already passed to properly explain what really happened, and now, there was no point denying it. Maybe he just had to accept what Doyun believed. Maybe this was karma, or maybe this was who he had always been. Your clothes look different, Doyun said casually. Were you here to meet someone? Oh, yes, just a friend, Ji-eon replied, pulling out her phone. She suddenly remembered it had been on airplane mode. Just a friend? Doyun repeated, leaning slightly closer. Ji-eon glanced at him. At that exact moment, her phone buzzed non-stop. Doyun frowned. Just how many texts are you getting? I just turned my phone back on, Ji-eon explained. But then she paused. There were too many messages, all from Se-in. I'm going to go, she said quickly, standing up, and before Doyun could react, she dashed out. I'll walk you, Doyun started. But she was already gone. He stood there, watching the empty space she had left behind. Well, she sure is fast, he muttered. Unaware, someone nearby had been taking pictures of them. I'm sorry. Are you mad? Ji-eon, you don't want to talk to me? Those were the messages Se-in had sent. Ji-eon quickly called him. Se-in, she said, slightly out of breath. I'll give you one chance to make it up to me. After a while, Se-in sat across from Ji-eon and asked, "This is really all it takes?" "Yes," Ji-eon replied with a smile. "I was just craving something sweet, and you sent so many messages. It was honestly the most dramatic thing I've ever seen. My phone was off, so that's why I couldn't answer your calls." "Oh," Se-in blinked. "I didn't think about that. I've been ghosted so many times before, so it didn't even occur to me." Ji-eon blinked in surprise. Just what kind of life has this guy lived, she wondered. "It wasn't anything worth ghosting someone over," Ji-eon said gently. "Besides, I'm sure you had a good reason." "Yes," Se-in nodded. "To be honest, I met another friend today. He used to be my only friend, but because of some misunderstanding, we hadn't talked in years." Ji-eon listened quietly. "So, did it feel good seeing him again?" she asked. Se-in looked at her for a moment before answering. "Yeah, but from now on, I won't cancel our plans like I did today, no matter who calls." Ji-eon looked up at him, sipping her coffee. "But he sounds like a special friend." "What if you miss him?" she asked softly. "But you're special too," Se-in replied. Ji-eon almost choked. "Hey, if someone overheard you, they'd think we've been friends for years," she teased. Se-in smiled warmly. "That's true. It's strange. But I just enjoy spending time with you." After Se-in walked her home, Ji-eon started walking ahead when Se-in called Ji out to her. "Ji-eon, don't read these texts until you get home," he said, holding up his phone with a mysterious smile. After freshening up, Ji-eon sat on her bed, curious. She opened her phone. "You are such a kind person. Thanks for meeting up with me. And you looked pretty today." Ji-eon's face turned bright red at the last message. On the other side, Hyunsu sat inside his car, staring at the photos he had just received. "Is this it?" he asked with a frown. The informant explained that Doyun had only left his house once, so that was all he had managed to gather. Hyunsu sighed. Even if Doyun Nam was dating a non-celebrity, it wouldn't really help him. Frustrated, he cut off the call and instructed the informant to keep watching Doyun for a few more days. Just then, he saw Sahi stepping out into the parking area, the very person he had been waiting for. Excited, he quickly got out of his car. "Sahi, let's talk. I can't just let you go like this," he said urgently. In his hurry, the photos slipped from his hand and scattered across the ground. Sahi bent down and picked them up. "What is all this?" she asked coolly. Hyunsu stammered, trying to explain, but she cut him off. "Stop this and leave Doyun Nam alone. This is so embarrassing. If you keep acting like this, what will become of me? After all, I'm the one who made you, so act your age." She threw the photos back at his face and turned away. Angered, Hyunsu called out, "Sahi, why are you so protective of Doyun Nam?" She stopped and turned back, her expression irritated. "I'm not protecting him, you're just pathetic." Hyunsu's face fell. "Don't lie. Do you even love me?" he asked, his voice cracking slightly. Sahi stared at him for a long moment. Then she sighed inwardly. What a pain, she thought. Back at the agency, CEO Hushal was advising Doyun. "You should be selective about your engagements. We've always packaged your hiatus as something mysterious, so don't just appear everywhere." Manager Kim smiled and nodded. "Don't worry, we'll be careful." Just then, the door opened. Sahi walked in. Everyone immediately stood up in surprise. "President Ji-eon? What brings you here?" Huchul asked. But Sahi ignored him and looked straight at Doyun. "Doyun, you know the paparazzi were taking photos of you?" The room instantly grew tense. "Photos?" Doyun murmured. "I took care of one guy. There wasn't anything damaging in them, but you should be more careful in the future." "And you came here just to tell me that?" Doyun asked, slightly surprised. "Well, I was in the area," Sahi replied calmly, leaning back. "I remember when you helped me in the past," Doyun said. Sahi smiled faintly. "Back then, you were working with our company, and I had just become CEO. I wanted to handle it quietly." "Thank you," Doyun replied sincerely. Sahi paused. "Well, don't mention it. We should grab dinner sometime." Doyun kept his expression straight. "I don't accept sponsors." CEO Huchul and Manager Kim both gasped. Sahi froze for a moment, then slowly turned back to him. "I already know you're not someone who can be easily persuaded," she said calmly. "And how stubborn you are." "I apologize if that sounded rude," Doyun added. "Why are you being so formal?" "It's awkward," Sahi replied lightly. With that, she turned and left. The day finally arrived when Ji-eon officially started working at a real company. She was genuinely excited. Manager Kim handed her a contract. "Take a quick look so we can head out," he said. Ji-eon leaned slightly toward Doyun and whispered, "Hey, just a quick look around." "What did you expect?" Doyun replied calmly. "You're not going to work in an office." Ji-eon's face fell. She had imagined something more structured and professional. "You're wearing the perfume," Doyun suddenly said after noticing. Ji-eon looked up. "Oh, yes, thank you," he smirked. "Consider it a gift to celebrate your new job." "Yeah, but is it really okay?" "It's so expensive," she murmured. "That's why I use it. I don't like wearing what everyone else wears." "Huh. Jerk," Ji-eon thought silently. But as Doyun turned his face away, he realized something. He didn't actually mind that she was wearing it. When he looked at her again, he noticed she was dressed in her usual hoodie. "I thought you'd dress up more for your first day," he said casually. Surprised, Ji-eon looked at him. "Was I supposed to dress formal?" "No. I thought you wanted to look good," Doyun replied. She sighed lightly with a small smile. "What do I even need to look nice for?" With that, she walked ahead as Manager Kim called her. Doyun stood frozen. So when she had said she wanted to look good before, it wasn't for him? Should I get a license? Ji-eon asked Manager Kim. Before he could answer, Doyun stepped forward and placed his hand lightly on her shoulder. Grab a coffee, he ordered. Right now? I'm talking to Manager Kim, Ji-eon said. What's there to talk about? You can't drive yet, so go get coffee. Ji-eon didn't argue. She ran off to buy him coffee. Meanwhile, Doyun sat in the car, irritated. He knew he was being petty, but he felt strangely annoyed. It made him feel awful. Earlier, when President Ji-eon came, I thought it had something to do with Hyun-soo-won, Manager Kim added casually. What about him? Doyun asked, still irritated. You didn't know? They broke up. Doyun looked shocked at first. Then he burst out laughing. Are you happy about that? Manager Kim asked. Huh? Breakup? No way. That's just what she does, Doyun replied. Even if it looks like they're dating, Sahee-jeon doesn't see it that way. They didn't break up because they were never really dating to begin with. You know a lot about her, Manager Kim said teasingly. Does that mean you like her? Doyun frowned. What is it with you and dating? Well, I've never seen you with anyone, even though there are plenty of women into you. Doyun scoffed. I'm not into that stuff. I don't like people that much to begin with, and it's not easy to win my heart. Just then, there was a knock on the car window. Here's your coffee. Ji-eon stood there, smiling brightly. And the very heart Doyun had just been talking about, suddenly, pounded loudly in his chest, his face flushed red. What is happening? He thought, utterly confused. He quickly reached out, grabbed the coffee, and shut the blinds. Ji-eon looked slightly puzzled by his sudden behavior, but quietly sat back in her seat. In the back seat, however, Doyun Nam was clearly troubled. He couldn't understand what he was feeling. From the driver's seat, Manager Kim glanced at Ji-eon. Without proper experience, why was she getting a full-time position? And Doyun didn't even seem to like her, so why? I have a question, Manager Kim said. How did you manage working in this field without a driver's license? Ji-eon startled slightly. Oh, somehow I managed, you know, she answered hesitantly. Still, it doesn't make sense, Manager Kim continued. You have to pick up outfits from the stylist using this van. How will you handle that? What will you do if I'm not around? Ji-eon listened quietly, unsure how to respond. Then from the back seat, a calm voice spoke. I'll drive. Both of them turned. And don't you think you're being a little too harsh? Doyun added. I'm the one who brought her here, so I'll decide whether she's fit for the job. Ji-eon looked back at him, puzzled. Doyun? She whispered, trying to make him stop, but he didn't. Look how scared she is, he added. If anything, that only made Ji-eon look more nervous. Manager Kim was equally puzzled. Why was Doyun defending a girl who had just started today? Later at the set, Manager Kim introduced Ji-eon to the staff, Doyun's stylist, makeup artist, and other team members. As everyone turned away to continue their work, Ji-eon lightly grabbed Doyun's hand. Doyun, what should I do now? She asked, unsure of her responsibilities. Doyun looked at her for a moment, then he turned his face away. Just look around, he replied casually before walking off, but something was off. For some reason, his heart wouldn't stop pounding. Sitting in the makeup room, he muttered, Is there something wrong with my heart? What do you mean? One of the staff members asked, confused. I don't know, it just keeps beating fast. Oh, isn't that dangerous? Someone else said. Is it? Doyun murmured, genuinely unsure. Outside, Ji-eon felt anxious. Manager Kim wasn't around, she had no idea what to do. Suddenly, Doyun peeked out from the makeup room. Ji-eon, he called quietly. Come here for a second. She stepped closer. Yes, what is it? Doyun glanced around to make sure no one was watching. Then he pulled the Mingji doll from behind him and handed it to her. I need you to use it to calm me down. Ji-eon's eyes widened. What? Is something wrong? I don't think it's a panic attack, Doyun explained. But maybe I'm nervous. My heart is racing. Even now it's beating so fast. To check, Ji-eon stepped closer and placed her hand on his chest. Yeah, that's not normal, she whispered. Doyun's eyes widened at the sudden closeness. His heart began pounding even faster. Hey, I didn't tell you to touch me, he whispered awkwardly. Ji-eon looked at him, genuinely worried. But when did it start, and does it hurt? Doyun sighed. It started when... He paused, because he suddenly realized it had started when she came earlier with the coffee, smiling so brightly. And even now that image of her was fresh in his mind. Before he could finish thinking, someone called him to the set for the photo shoot. I'm counting on you, he whispered to Ji-eon before leaving. The photo shoot began. Doyun struck his usual natural poses, his handsome face perfectly composed. But suddenly, he slumped forward, bending awkwardly. Everyone froze, then burst out laughing. Oh, you're hilarious, the photographer said, thinking it was intentional. Doyun straightened up quickly. Sorry, he said politely. But inside, he was panicking. What was Ji-eon doing with the doll right now? He had to stop her. But Ji-eon didn't stop. She squeezed Mingji gently. Doyun Nam, just loosen up, she ordered. On set, Doyun's body suddenly wiggled in response. Not like that, Ji-eon, he screamed internally. The photographer and staff stared in confusion. What was he doing? But then, Doyun, that pose is incredible. Hold that, the photographer shouted excitedly. Doyun's back leaned against the table, his hands supporting himself behind him. He looked effortlessly attractive, but inside, his back was killing him. Ji-eon watched from afar, thinking whatever she was doing was clearly working. Doyun, stop scowling and relax, she commanded softly, rubbing Mingji's face. On the other side, Doyun felt almost nauseous. He forced his face blank. But to the photographer, that blank expression looked dreamy. He quickly captured it. And just like that, the shoot continued. Doyun Nam ended up delivering numerous incredible poses. Finally, the photo shoot ended. Doyun stood there, bewildered, replaying everything that had just happened. From the side, Ji-eon gently poked his hand. "Doyun, do you feel better?" she whispered. His heart was still beating fast, but it was better not to tell her, just in case she turned him into jelly again. "Yeah, thanks," he replied with an awkward smile. Ji-eon grinned brightly. "Work can be pretty rewarding sometimes, you know," she said happily. Doyun stared at her. "You're strange. And you're grinning way too much today," he commented. "Usually you look stressed. Did you have that much fun getting coffee? I almost didn't recognize you. You were smiling from ear to ear." Ji-eon immediately blushed. Yes, she was in a good mood. Satan had sent her a congratulatory text along with a gift card for her new job. But now she felt embarrassed that even Doyun had noticed. Flustered, she quickly turned away. "Oh, I think someone's calling me," she mumbled before hurrying off. Doyun smiled slightly at her reaction. From behind, Manager Kim, who had witnessed the whole exchange, whispered, "You think she's acting strange? You're even stranger." Doyun jumped at the sudden voice. "You scared me," he said, panting slightly, but Manager Kim didn't let it go. "Regarding Ji-eon, I don't understand why you trust her so much. Are you two dating? You know you can't—" Before he could finish, Doyun quickly covered his mouth. "There you go again. Is that all you ever think about, relationships?" Doyun snapped. "I told you, I'm not dating anybody. Don't make assumptions just because she's a woman." Manager Kim sighed. "But you're both wearing the same perfume. You always take her side, and you're always staring at her." Doyun listened quietly for a moment, then he turned sharply. "What are you even talking about? We're not dating. I told you." "Then do you like her?" Manager Kim asked bluntly. Doyun turned back, his face burning red. "Why would I—" He stopped. "Hey, I'm just joking," Manager Kim added quickly, laughing. But then he paused, because Doyun had frozen. "Like?" Doyun whispered under his breath. It was possible. He had never even considered that possibility before. But Manager Kim's eyes widened. "Hey, why aren't you saying anything?" he asked, nudging Doyun's shoulder. "Come on, say something. Deny it like you always do." But Doyun just stood there, dazed. Inside, he was questioning himself. How could that even happen? How could I like her? Later, they all sat inside the van, heading home. Ji-eon was cheerful. "We finished earlier today," she said happily. "It's not always like that," Manager Kim replied. "When we start shooting the drama, the schedule will be tight." "Drama?" Ji-eon beamed excitedly. From the back seat, Doyun watched her quietly. Even though part of her face was covered, he could imagine exactly what expression she was making. "Should we grab some food?" Manager Kim suggested. "Do you like gopchang?" "Yes." "Sure, I like it," Ji-eon answered brightly. But Doyun was still troubled. What if what Manager Kim said was true? What if he actually liked Ji-eon? "No, I don't like it," Doyun said abruptly. There was no way he could be into her. It wasn't like she even liked him. So why would he like her? No way. Impossible. Ji-eon stepped out of the van to buy a salad since their dinner plan had been canceled. Just then, she received a call from the housing agent. There was a nice apartment available within her budget. Her face lit up. Today was truly a good day. She got a job. She might get a home. What else did she need? Lost in her excitement, she accidentally bumped into someone, and her drink spilled all over both of them. "Oh, are you all right?" Ji-eon looked up, asking anxiously. She didn't know anything about luxury brands, but the woman standing in front of her was wearing an expensive dress. Ji-eon could tell immediately. She had handled customers like her before during her part-time jobs. She knew exactly how they usually reacted. Frightened, Ji-eon quickly bowed. "I'm so sorry, miss, I'll pay for your dry cleaning," she said hurriedly. The woman simply looked at her. Then she slid off her scarf and handed it to Ji-eon. "Use this," she said calmly. Ji-eon froze. Thinking the woman wanted her to wipe the dress, she shook her head. "No, not for me, for you," the woman interrupted. "Use it to clean your sweater." Startled, Ji-eon looked at her properly. "Oh, I can just wash my hoodie in the washer, but your dress? I can wash it too," the woman replied smoothly. "And besides, you have more spilled on you than I do." Ji-eon hesitated. "Okay, I'll return it. Please give me your contact information." The woman began walking away. "It's fine. I was going to throw it away anyway." Then she turned slightly, a smirk playing on her lips. "My ex gave me that scarf." With that, she left. Wrapping the scarf around herself, Ji-eon returned to the van. It looked completely out of place on her. "Sorry it took a while. I spilled coffee on myself, so someone gave me this scarf," she explained as she got in. From the back seat, Doyun suddenly leaned forward. "Let me see. How did that happen?" he asked quickly. "Oh, it's fine," Ji-eon said lightly. From the front seat, Manager Kim quietly observed everything. Doyun sat back with a sigh. "You're so clumsy. What are you going to do? You don't even do laundry that often," he added absent-mindedly. Manager Kim's eyes widened. How did he know about her laundry habits? There was definitely something going on. He could feel it. And it felt one-sided. He needed to nip this in the bud, while Doyun was still in denial. Ji-eon reached home and ate her salad, but it wasn't enough. She rummaged through her nearly empty freezer, sighing at the lack of food. Just then, Sae-in's phone rang. A little later, the two of them ended up going out for dinner. "So, how was work?" Sae-in asked. "Was it too difficult?" "It was a piece of cake," Ji-eon replied proudly. Considering how I used to juggle multiple part-time jobs, this feels easy. Are the people nice? He asked. Ji-eon paused for a moment. I think so, she answered thoughtfully. Good, Seon said, pouring soju into her glass. Ji-eon looked at him worriedly. Are you going to drink? She asked, remembering how he had passed out last time. Of course, he replied lightly. That was different. I had been working multiple nights back then. Let's just toast to your new job. As they continued drinking, Ji-eon gradually became a little tipsy. I need to get a driver's license for work, she explained, slurring slightly. I'm good with the written exam, but I'm worried about the driving test. Want me to help you? Seon asked. Drunkenly, she nodded and took another sip. Then come with me to see the apartment too, she murmured. I'm so happy these days, she continued softly. I got a stable job, I found a new apartment, and my mom... Earlier, she had spoken with her mother, and they had agreed to finally live together again. Seon gently adjusted her posture. You'll hurt your neck, he said worriedly. She looked at him and smiled. And I've got a friend too, she added warmly. So now I have someone I can tell all these things to. That makes me happy too. Seon smiled back at her. The next morning, Doyun Nam stood under the shower, but manager Kim's words from yesterday kept echoing in his head. Because of him, he couldn't stop thinking about Ji-eon. And every time he tried not to, her face appeared in his mind. He told himself there was nothing wrong, he wasn't being nice, he was simply upholding their agreement. That was all. On the other side, Ji-eon woke up to messages from Doyun. He had sent her a maintenance stipend and told her to buy nice clothes for herself. He had also added to keep it a secret from manager Kim. When the van arrived, Ji-eon happily got in. Turning back slightly, she whispered, Morning, and thanks, Doyun. Doyun immediately turned his face away, but he couldn't hide the faint blush spreading across his cheeks. Manager Kim cleared his throat before asking casually, Ji-eon, do you have a boyfriend? Doyun's ears perked up instantly. No, I don't, Ji-eon replied. Oh, then any ex-boyfriend, manager Kim pressed. Ji-eon smiled. No, not any ex-boyfriend either. But I do have a boy who's a friend. Doyun looked up sharply. Wait, is it the friend you were going to watch a movie with? He asked. Ji-eon nodded. Yeah. Why? Doyun laughed awkwardly. No, nothing. It just came to mind. But inside, he had just confirmed it. It was that guy, the one she had wanted to look nice for. Ji-eon turned back to manager Kim. I'll get my license soon. He's going to help teach me, she added casually. From behind, Doyun listened quietly. So all this time she said she was busy, and now she had time to go out with this guy? Didn't she feel even a little guilty? Suddenly, the memory of the kiss flashed in his mind. Even after you kissed me, he muttered absent-mindedly. Then his eyes widened. He quickly covered his mouth, realizing what he had just blurted out. Both Ji-eon and manager Kim froze, but not because of his words. A bike suddenly cut across the road. Manager Kim slammed the horn, shouting at the rider. Doyun looked at them carefully, finally relieved. They hadn't heard what he said. Inside the changing area, Ji-eon looked at Doyun carefully. How have you been feeling these days, Doyun? She asked softly. About what? He replied. Your panic attacks, she said. I read that they can strike anytime, anywhere. You used to get them at home. So has it gotten better? Doyun glanced at her before answering. I've been doing fine recently, he said calmly. Oh, thanks to me, right? She asked playfully, pointing at herself with a bright smile. Doyun looked at her. That smile was the problem. Don't smile like that. Just do your work, he added stiffly. Ji-eon's face fell immediately. Okay, I'll go get the stylist, she said, turning away. But the moment she left, Doyun found himself smiling. She's cute, isn't she? He gasped. What was he thinking? Are you smiling, Doyun Nam? Thank God no one heard what you said this morning. Annoyed with himself, he let out a frustrated scream inside the changing room. And that kiss, it was just a misunderstanding. He didn't do that because he liked her. Why should he care who she dates? It has nothing to do with him. But really? What if she actually starts dating that guy? He screamed again, running his hand through his hair. Outside, people glanced at the closed door, wondering what in the world was happening inside. With a heavy sigh, Doyun sat down. This was all manager Kim's fault. He had planted that ridiculous idea in his head. Maybe it would be better if Ji-eon actually got a boyfriend. Yes, that would solve everything. But the moment he imagined it, his heart pounded violently in his chest, and it clearly did not agree. On the other side, Se-in sat finishing up his script. He found himself wondering what Ji-eon was doing. Curious, he picked up his phone. Just then, a voice sounded near him. Considering how you've been acting and how you're on your phone more than usual, you're dating someone, aren't you? His older sister asked sharply. Se-in immediately turned away. Hey, I'm not dating her, she's just a friend, he replied quickly. His sister slapped his shoulder lightly, clearly annoyed. I told you before, if you cause another fiasco like last time, I'll personally shave your head. Behave yourself. With that warning, she turned and walked away. Se-in let out a quiet sigh. Ji-eon was just a friend, wasn't she? He paused. Was she really just a friend? He found himself questioning it for the first time. On the other side, something was definitely off with Doyun Nam. "You said you wanted the kimbap from the store downstairs." "Here it is," Ji-eon said, handing it to him. Doyun glared at her. "Don't you see people are working here? There's no time to eat. Do I have to explain everything to you?" he snapped. Ji-eon quietly turned and walked away. Manager Kim had sent her to get it. At first, she thought Doyun was just in a bad mood today, but later she realized, no, he was perfectly fine with everyone else, just not with her. "Ji-eon," Doyun called her again for every little thing, and so her entire day passed doing whatever he asked, sometimes even redoing things for no reason. Why was he acting like this only with her? Is he some kind of sociopath? She clenched her teeth at the thought. For a moment, she even considered quitting, but then she remembered the apartment she saw yesterday. It wasn't that great. She needed more money for a better place. With that thought, quitting wasn't even an option. She glanced at him again. He really is handsome, if he would just keep his mouth shut. As she stared at him, Doyun suddenly felt even more uncomfortable. His face turned red. Why was she looking at him like that? Ji-eon pulled out her phone and noticed the video from the photo shoot had been uploaded. And it turned out really good. "Hey, take a look," she said, leaning closer to show him. Doyun's heart began racing wildly at the sudden closeness. In panic, he pushed her away. Her phone fell to the ground. "Hey! You shouldn't lean so close. Please refrain from unnecessary contact from now on," Doyun said stiffly. Then after a short pause, he added awkwardly, Is your phone okay?" Ji-eon smirked. "The screen's broken, but it still seems to be working fine," she whispered. Then she looked back at him calmly. "If I had sold Mingji to someone rich, I wouldn't have to deal with you. But I didn't." Her tone turned dangerous. "But it's all right," she added, pulling out the doll. "I still have Mingji." Doyun's face drained of color. That sounded extremely dangerous. Manager Kim returned after handling something outside and opened the door. Inside, Doyun Nam was massaging Ji-eon's shoulders like a puppet. The moment they noticed him, both of them immediately stood up. Ji-eon greeted brightly. Then she turned to Doyun. "I can't believe you're giving me 2 days of paid leave." "Thank you, Doyun," she added cheerfully. Doyun nodded awkwardly. Manager Kim's face fell. 2 weeks of leave to someone who had joined just a week ago? That was unbelievable. He turned to Doyun suspiciously. Doyun cleared his throat. "I thought about it, and it would be difficult for Ji-eon to drive right now. So, please find me a temporary manager," he said casually. Manager Kim looked between the two of them. What in the world just happened while he was gone? Meanwhile, Doyun quietly glanced at Ji-eon. She really is terrifying. Ji-eon avoided his gaze. She hadn't planned to use Mingji like that, but he brought it upon himself, and he had obediently followed everything she said. Later that day, they dropped Ji-eon at her house. "Good work today, everyone. See you in 2 weeks," she said brightly, waving as she stepped out. Inside the van, Doyun and Manager Kim looked at her, one glaring, one still completely confused. Before she walked away, Doyun quickly leaned out of the window. "Ji-eon," he whispered urgently. "I did everything you said. Now give me that doll before you go." Ji-eon paused slightly and looked back at him. She stayed silent for a moment. Then she smiled faintly. "Oh, that? I'll put it to good use," she said calmly before walking away. After all, she never promised she would hand Mingji back. Mingji was the only reason Doyun Nam was wrapped around her finger. A few days later, Ji-eon went shopping, but everything was so expensive. Even though she had received money from Doyun, her poor heart simply couldn't handle spending that much. Feeling tired, she wandered into a bookstore instead. There, she found a magazine. On the front page, Doyun. It was the photo from that dreamy photo shoot. He looked incredibly handsome. Ji-eon stared at it for a moment before deciding to buy one, thinking of her colleague. After checking out, she stepped outside and froze. Her eyes widened. It was the same woman from before, the one who had given her that expensive scarf. Ji-eon quickly followed her toward the restroom area. "Oh, hello," she greeted cheerfully. Sahie looked at her briefly, clearly not remembering some random girl from a cafe. "Yes?" she asked coolly. "Do you remember me? I spilled coffee on you last week and you gave me that scarf," Ji-eon explained. "Oh, sorry, I'm not good with faces," Sahie replied casually. "Anyway, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't need it." She adjusted her bag. "Have a good day," and she turned to leave. Ji-eon kept staring at her. To her, Sahie looked so cool, confident, elegant, untouchable. She wanted to be like that someday. But suddenly, the bag Sahie was holding ripped from the bottom. It must have gotten wet earlier. Magazines spilled everywhere across the floor. Ji-eon's eyes widened. Every single one of them had Doyun Nam on the cover. Silence filled the air. Sahie stood there, still. Then Ji-eon slowly asked, are you a fan of Doyun Nam? And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this and want to be part of our growing community, hit join to support the channel. Take care and see you soon.